Hello, I'm Lily Peterson.
And I'm Paul Wilson. Welcome to Beyond Benefits with Benefits Pro. For this episode, we're talking to Uche Enemchukwu, CEO of Nelu. But first, let's take a couple minutes to catch up. How you doing, Lily?
I'm good. I feel like I've just been living the normal Colorado summer, hiking and camping. But I know you went backpacking quite recently, so I want to hear all about that.
I did, yeah, just last weekend. I'm still in recovery mode, but it was a lot of fun. It was a relatively easy trip, I would say, as easy as it can be when you have a big backpack and you're climbing a mountain. But we've had ones that are much more strenuous. This one is one of my favorites. It's a couple of small mountain lakes called Frying Pan Lakes, and they're fairly remote. So it's just nice to get away. It's usually just my brother, a friend, and myself, and we head up there and just do some fishing. One thing I like about this set of lakes is I feel like the fish up there are isolated enough that there's like gold medal waters where the fish are like really
Yeah.
smart and picky. These ones are the opposite of that. They're not the brightest. They will bite pretty much anything that moves, which is my kind of fishing. So anyway, it's
Yeah.
lots of fun.
Did you catch?
Oh, yeah, we caught a lot. We do catch and release. We just
Yeah, you have to there, don't you?
You probably do. And anyways, I'm not a big fan of eating like trout anyway. And then I think I'm just a softie. So the idea of like when I was younger, we used to keep all of our fish, and I was always sad about that. So it's a
Yeah.
win-win. But yeah, it's fun. And we probably caught, I don't know, between the three of us, we probably caught close to 100, and we were only
Oh,
there for two
wow.
days. So like I said, dumb, not very big, but it's lots of fun.
Yeah.
Sounds like your most recent backpacking or hiking trip was a little more strenuous than mine.
Yes. So my boyfriend is born and raised Colorado. He knows like all these secret spots. So we went to a place that him and his dad found, and I'm not going to reveal like exactly where it is, but it's around Independence Pass. And I am from Nebraska, so I like did not grow up camping or doing any of those things. He's like, "Oh, it's a quick hike in. Don't even worry. There's just like one river crossing and it's really easy." I said, "Okay, no worries. I can totally do that." He lied. I swear he did, because we're gasping for air trying to get where we're supposed to be. We went with one of his buddies, and I don't think his buddies realized that it was what it was, that it was more of a hike in than,
Didn't you say 3,000 feet of elevation rise?
well, so one of the days we went hiking
Oh, okay.
up to Blue Lake, and that is a straight shot up. It is ridiculous. I thought I was going to puke or pass out multiple times. Like, it was above tree line. It was ridiculous. I looked at Alec and I said, "I'll do this once a year, and that's it. Like, I cannot do this.
Yep.
This is insane. You're crazy." But we also went fishing up there at Blue Lake. But those are the smart fish.
Okay.
So no one caught anything.
Yeah. See, I've done that, and I've over time decided I have nothing to prove. I'll take the dumb small ones. I don't care if they're like 6 or 8 inches long, but they're fighters. That works for me. Yeah, I'm with you. I know a lot of people around here go camping and backpacking every weekend. I mean, I love being outdoors, and I'll do lots of day hikes, but I think I like your philosophy. Once a year, that's plenty.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not raised with it. For him, that was a normal weekend. For me, that was check off the bucket list kind of situation.
Yeah.
But I just brought my book, drank a beer at the top of a mountain.
There you go.
So it was the best beer I've ever tasted in my life.
Yeah, that's always amazing when you're camping. It's amazing, the beer or the half cooked hot dogs that are burnt or
Yep.
whatever. It always tastes better. So,
Yeah,
well, nice.
agreed.
I'm glad we both are having a good summer and surviving our various travails in the mountains.
Yeah.
Well, we'll switch gears drastically here because our guest today, we talk a lot about Chicago. Uche is from Chicago, and we'll get into that in a moment. But you and I are both big fans, and I know Zach, our producer, is also a big fan of Chicago. It makes sense that we would talk about Chicago anyway, but makes even more sense because our expo next year is taking place in that beautiful city, April 28th through the 30th at the Hyatt Regency, McCormick Place. So yeah, even more reason to talk about it. But I know that you have family in Chicago,
Yeah.
Lily, and you spend a lot of time there. What are some of the things that you love about it?
Yeah. I mean, my aunt lives there, and she's like my favorite person ever. She lives in Andersonville, and she's an artist. She has her studio there a little bit outside of Andersonville, and then her gallery is off of Clark Street. I've been visiting forever, basically, it feels like.
Mm,
And every summer I used to go for like 2 weeks at a time.
nice.
And we would do the Lollapalooza thing. We would do the Art Institute. We would just, walk around Andersonville. I love it so much. It's so good.
Yeah, it is such a great city. Zach, I know you said, and by the way, you too, thank you for filling in last week. You did great on the introduction.
Yeah.
You don't even
Of
need me
course.
anymore. But yeah, Zach, any specific things about Chicago that come to mind for you?
So I'm about 5 hours away, so I don't get up as much as I'd like, but it is a pretty easy drive to go up for like a weekend. And some of the best times I had, there was a stretch. My best friends, his cousins lived right outside of
Oh,
Wrigleyville.
cool.
So for the longest stretch, we could go up there for like a concert or something, stay right in the middle of everything, walk wherever we wanted. So I have nothing but good thoughts and memories about Chicago.
Yeah.
Nice.
And because of, going up for concerts and whatnot, if you asked for food recommendations, it would be something like, that all night diner I went to at 1 o'clock in the morning. I can't tell you where it is, but it was good.
Yeah, I have a few of those too. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I have the same thing. Like Wrigleyville is such a cool area. Growing up in Colorado, we did not have a baseball team, and some would argue these days that we still don't because we don't really claim the Rockies. Growing up, you had cable, so you had WGN or TBS. So I feel like people across the nation who didn't have a baseball team kind of had to pick their loyalty. And I ended up between the Bulls and the Cubs. I ended up definitely kind of adopting the city of Chicago even before I'd ever been there when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then as I've gotten chances to go there more and more in recent years, it's absolutely wonderful. Such a great foodie city. Of course,
Yeah.
the bookstores, which we mention all the time. I have a couple there that I love and will recommend to anyone. There is a place, I don't know if either of you have ever been there, but it's called Au Cheval
Mm-mm.
in Chicago. And I don't remember. Oh, it came onto our radar because a coworker recommended it. It's her husband's favorite place. But anyway, if you ever get a chance, some people claim it's the best burger in the United States, which I think is a pretty high claim. I thought it was very tasty. I'll just say that. So Au Cheval, I would definitely go there. But we actually get some insider information in our episode because Uche lives there and she gives some great restaurant and food recommendations. So be sure to stick around. But yeah, we should move on to our interview with Uche now. Again, Uche Enemchukwu is a benefits attorney, strategy consultant, and CEO of Nelu Diversified Solutions, a global employee benefits consulting, certification, and technology provider. During our chat, Uche offers her insights into the current state of the industry, the trends she's watching around plan design and utilization, as well as how industry leaders can and should use their influence and spending power to push true innovation in the industry. And like we said, as always, we also dive into some other fun topics, including the joys of being a PBS nerd, some killer Chicago food recommendations, and yes, plenty of book recommendations as always. So we have all that and more coming up next. Joining us today is Uche Enemchukwu, CEO of Nelu. Welcome to Beyond Benefits, Uche.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, yeah, we're so happy you're here. How's your summer going so far?
Pretty good. I'm in Chicago right now, and Chicago has been decently warm in recent days. We always complain about, oh, it's so cold most of the year, and then we get the really great part of the summer that's nice and breezy, but then we also get the 90-degree days where everybody is on, the train, lots of skin and a lot of packing in together in heat, and it's very unpleasant.
Yeah.
We're there right now.
Yeah. That humidity in Chicago is no joke. I have told Lily this before, but there was a time, I think it was in March, and we were taking the architecture tour where you go on the boats down the
Love
river.
it.
I have never been that cold, and I've lived in Colorado my entire life. I have never been that cold. I thought I was going to die. Just that humidity, whether it's the heat or the cold, it
Yes,
adds a whole different layer.
absolutely.
Yeah. Nice. So I'm glad you're off to a good start. I love Chicago. It's one of my favorite cities.
Yeah, I agree. Chicago's amazing. Well, I guess we have to jump into why we're here. For those who aren't familiar with you, your company, would you mind giving a little background about yourself, your company, and kind of what you do on, a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so I'm the CEO of Nelu Diversified Solutions. We are a benefits consulting, educational certification, and technology firm that's focused on making benefits more accessible. So, what that means is that we work on all things plan design, communications, and delivery. And we do it from an angle of ensuring that all participants are able to easily and efficiently access their benefit plans. In particular, we focus on closing disparities around savings and health outcomes, and we work with employers of all sizes. We started out working with large employers because that's just my background, but we've really started working and focusing on mid-sized and smaller employers who often don't have the benefits team or the large benefits team that's really able to help them work through their benefit plans in a technical manner. So that's the employer facing work that we do. We have created a digital platform that is external facing. So this is for consumers, so for individuals who need help with maximizing the benefits that are available to them through their employer. So we've really started doing some of that external facing work to fill in some gaps. The work that we do is global. So we work with employers all around the world. We have an office in the UK, in London. So we've really branched out into various continents to really take a global approach to our mission. So that's what we do in a 5-minute nutshell.
Oh, that's awesome. And what about what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, so I want to take a quick step back and just tell you guys a bit about myself and my background because I promise it's relevant. So, I'm a benefits attorney by background. I started off in big law, then I went over to Willis, which is now WTW. So back when it was Willis, I was the benefits compliance attorney for the Midwest region, working with their brokers. And then from WTW, I went on to manage retirement plan compliance at Boeing. And then from there, I started Nelu. The reason all of that is relevant is because part of the work that we do, particularly around education, is really about what should your day to day look like in benefits. And I say that because our day to day could be a lot more dynamic in terms of benefits practitioners and consultants and lawyers should be a lot more dynamic than the way that we treat it. So my day to day, I used to see it as very mundane. I used to see it the way benefit plan participants see it and brokers see it. We sit in the back typing on a computer about something. But the reality is we play such a significant role in people's lives that if we made our day to day more dynamic, it would really make a difference in people's lives. So my day to day is pretty dynamic, and having my own company allows it to be dynamic, but I also try to be very intentional about the day to day work that I do, meaning in consulting, in education, I'm really thinking about how is what I'm doing at this moment, whether I am behind a computer typing or I'm sitting and strategizing about something, how is this going to impact the people that we're doing this for, the people that we have a fiduciary responsibility to? So my day to day looks like, sorry, that was a very long background,
Not at
but
all.
my day to day looks like a lot of calls to really strategize around what is the best approach for delivering our clients benefits, right? So thinking about who are your participants? What are their needs? What are their socioeconomic backgrounds, etc.? Where do they live? All those different things, and figuring out, hey, instead of just benchmarking, let's really sit down and strategize around what do your participants need. With brokers, let's sit down and strategize around how can you best support your clients. And with educational development, really just understanding what's happening in the world right now, understanding the both the policy environment, the economic environment, and
Mm.
really thinking about how can we create educational resources for employers, for HR staff, for benefits staff to really take more of a dynamic approach to their day to day. So that was a long answer, but that's basically it. Oh, other than traveling constantly.
Oh
That's
yeah.
basically it.
No, I want to touch on all of that. And actually, it wasn't long at all because you actually predicted some of the stuff that we were going to ask you because I do think it's very relevant. And we're going to ask you to put on a couple different hats, including your benefits attorney hat, maybe as the
Okay.
conversation moves along. But I wanted to kind of start off with more of a 30,000-foot view. When you're
Okay.
talking to employers, employees, benefits advisors out there, what are some of the trends or some of the news
Yeah.
headlines or things like that you're really watching right now in both the benefits and the healthcare space these days? Just generally speaking, what are some of the big things you're keeping an eye on right now?
So the largest thing that we're keeping an eye on right now is really around fiduciary duty and what that means. Particularly in the health space, there's been a lot of change in terms of lawsuits for health plans, cost around particularly PBMs, vertical integration of insurance companies, and the way that impacts conflicts of interest around the employer fiduciary duties. So that has been something that we've been paying a lot of attention to because previously, especially for companies, large employers in particular, where you have your retirement side, retirement benefits siloed, and your health benefits siloed, all of the benefits attorneys and all the internal compliance folks were always focused on the retirement side because we weren't too worried about fiduciary issues popping up on the health side, but that is now a very real concern. So that's one of the major things that fiduciary duties around health plans has been one of the major things that we've had to pay attention to. The other thing is diversity, equity, and inclusion. In this new political environment where there's a lot of confusion around what is legal and what isn't legal. In the benefits space, the reality is that we have a fiduciary duty to act in the best interest of all participants. It doesn't matter what you call it. You can call it DEI, you can call it whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, we have a responsibility to be inclusive of our diverse participant populations, point blank, period. So just being able to make it clear to employers that you're not going to get in trouble for doing what you are supposed to do is, clear to them. And I think as kind of the dust has started to settle politically, that employers are back to, in the benefit space anyway, employers are back to, ooh, well, this is what we're supposed to be doing in the first place. We don't have to call it DEI. We don't
Yeah.
have to, it doesn't matter what you call it. What we're doing is in the best interest of all participants, which is our responsibility. So I think those are really the two, from a fiduciary standpoint, those are the two things that are kind of high level on our minds.
No, you're doing a great job. You're predicting so many of the questions I was going to ask you.
Oh
So
gosh, I'm sorry.
no, that means you're knocking it out of the park. And I was just going to follow up with a couple of those. Since you were just talking about DEI, I'll start there, but I also want to touch on the fiduciary conversation a little bit too. I know they are connected, but just to your point about employers and employees for that matter, not necessarily backing off and in some ways really embracing the idea of continuing with some of these important programs. We recently published a study that found that more than 8 in 10 employees want their companies to
Yeah.
expand DEI initiatives, not reduce them.
Yep.
So there's a demand there from the employees themselves. But I saw that you'd also posted some commentary recently about the federal courts supporting DEI. And
Yeah.
then in an interview earlier this year, I saw that you also said, quote, shareholders, including institutional investors, have voted overwhelmingly against recent anti-DEI proposals. The
Right.
rejection of these proposals is an indication of what shareholders expect and what they consider ethically and financially responsible. So I know you already did touch on it, but I would love for you just to expand a little bit more on what you're hearing from employees, employers, and an important thing you just said, the shareholders, because it feels like despite all the headlines and the noise, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that maybe isn't getting as much attention as it should.
Absolutely. I think, like I mentioned, I think the dust is finally starting to settle, partly because the courts have been making it quite clear that DEI is not illegal. Let me be clear about that. Doing DEI correctly is not illegal. And with the dust settling, and most employers were doing DEI correctly, to be very clear, right? Doing it strategically and doing it correctly, right? As the dust has settled and as a lot of the noise, has died down, we're seeing employers going back, right, to fully leaning into their DEI initiatives. And Part of that, to your point, right? Part of that is the reality that employees want to see this. It doesn't matter how they voted. I'm not here to be political. It doesn't matter how they voted. The polls make it very clear that employees appreciate and value DEI programs at their employers. The other piece of it, like you mentioned, and yes, I have been saying this for a while, the reality is that these are expectations that shareholders have because they understand the impact of happy and employee populations that are doing well, meaning their well-being is important to the employer, right? Shareholders care about these things. And we've seen that through the shareholder vote, the recent shareholder voting around DE&I. We've seen that through the way the public has reacted to employers who have squashed their DEI programs. As a global benefits practitioner, we're in Europe all the time. And the reality is we can create a culture war around environmental, social, and governance factors that shareholders, take into consideration. We can turn it into a whole culture war if we want to, but at the end of the day, a lot of these companies that are global have to pay attention to regulations and expectations around ESG, around DE&I and other places. So shareholders care about this, and shareholders are global. And a lot of our shareholders, as we all know when we look at the markets, a lot of them are European, a lot of them are not local, right?
Right,
So
right.
we have to care about what they think. So hopefully that answered your question, but I see that employers are understanding that there are bigger issues for them to fry, right?
Yeah, right.
Around shareholder and their own employee populations, attitudes.
No, I think that's a great answer. And I would just also, from my perspective, it seems like employees and employers and shareholders, all of them have kind of gotten a taste of the value that having a diverse and varied workforce can have. And they can
Yes.
see how that translates to the bottom line, how it translates to creativity, how it translates to all these
Right.
positives. And I think at this point, many of them are realizing it's like putting the toothpaste back in the tube, like
Yes.
impossible to turn it around, but also why would you ever want to? Because they've
Right.
seen the value. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Well, jumping back to the fiduciary conversation a little bit too, as a benefits attorney, I'm sure you've been, like you said, keeping track of all the lawsuits that are
Yeah.
going on these days, and it's starting to move over. It's been, what is it, a decade or more that it's been happening on the retirement side, but now
Yeah.
we're seeing it move over into the benefits and healthcare space.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear your thoughts more on just that whole fiduciary shift that's taking place on the benefits side. In particular, I've heard a lot of people tell me that one of the big breakthroughs that they're seeing right now is the fact that more and more individuals are being named in some of the
Yeah.
lawsuits, which is
Yeah.
putting more pressure on people. But generally speaking, if you're talking to benefits advisors or employers,
Mm-hmm.
what can they learn from what happened on the retirement side, and kind of what advice or thoughts do you have on where it's headed?
Right. So with welfare benefits, including, health benefits, you're right. For years, we focused on the retirement side and really on the retirement side, we were focused around creating processes, right? Because your fiduciary duty is really to have proper procedures. And if you have proper procedures, your procedural process, right, is good. And the conclusion you come to is wrong. It doesn't mean that you breached your fiduciary duty as long as you followed a prudent process. That is the technical term used, right? And so we spent years on the retirement side creating prudent processes, right, around the way retirement plans are delivered and the way that they're managed, administered, right? And in that time, we didn't see a ton of enforcement with respect to fiduciary duties on the health side. I don't think many people are very concerned about it. Now it's a very real concern. And I think at the end of the day, what has to happen and what we've been talking about and what we've been helping advisors around with respect to compliance is really understanding that you need prudent procedures on the health side as well. Okay, so we're seeing a little less so on the large employer side because, again, they have whole teams and all of this stuff, which puts them in many ways at an advantage. But for your mid-size and smaller employers, we're seeing that there's a scramble to create procedures, prudent procedures, to draft plan documents, to have a cafeteria plan, all those different things that they weren't really thinking about before, because from a fiduciary perspective, because that fiduciary responsibility wasn't really being enforced.
Right.
So it's always been the requirement. It's always been their fiduciary responsibility, but it just wasn't being enforced. And now we're seeing it be enforced, and we're seeing it be enforced through lawsuits. That is something that we're really focused on, particularly with respect to brokers and benefits advisors, because back when I was with Willis, a lot of what I did was pointing out, you don't have a plan document. Okay, we're going to draft this plan document. Okay, you do not have processes and procedures around this. Okay, we're going to draft that. All those different things that no one was paying attention to because it just felt technical and unimportant. All of that matters now.
Yeah.
A lot.
And I imagine that you're seeing a lot more uptake and people paying attention, but it's a learning process. I mean, do you think
Yes.
this is just going to be an ongoing area of focus now for years, probably, to get up to speed? Or do you think it will take less time than that, just for no other reason than because it's being enforced so heavily?
I would say for years, because there's a lot of catching up to do,
Yeah.
particularly benefits brokers, benefits advisors. There's a lot of catching up to do, because if they are the broker, the advisor, the everything for the client, they have to understand this stuff, right? So
Yeah.
that's education. So that's just getting up to speed on things that they didn't really feel that they had to pay too much attention to in the past. So that's the first step, getting up to speed, getting that education out there. And that's a lot of the work that we're trying to do through different organizations to get that education out there. So I do think that's the starting point, and that will take some time to get everyone up to speed. And then
Hmm.
the other piece of that is, a lot of your WTWs, your Mercers, your Marshes, all of them, your Gallaghers, all Locktons, they have internal compliance teams. Essentially what I was doing when I was with Willis, that help with plan documents, that help with whatever compliance question comes up, whatever compliance issues come up. But for your independent brokers and advisors, for your small firms, they don't
Right.
have that, right? So they're going to have to find those resources. And that's another thing that we're doing through larger organizations, to be able to provide the resources that I provided to Willis WTW now back then, to smaller brokerages and advisors and smaller firms and individual agents and brokers, to have access to this kind of compliance consulting advice, to be able to ensure that their clients are not digging a hole for themselves.
Yeah. No, that's so important. And I know I talk to a lot of those smaller and independent advisors. And even though it is a lot of work, and I know a lot of them are daunted, there's also an excitement, I think, around this, because
Mm,
it's a way to differentiate yourselves from those who maybe aren't doing what they're supposed to be
absolutely.
doing.
Yep.
And also just so valuable to the employers who are feeling
Yes.
overwhelmed. So it's just one more way that they can provide value and become a true consultant rather than just the old school broker.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to switch gears a little bit, so
Okay.
I apologize, but I do appreciate having that kind of conversation because, like Paul said, it's important to not only the brokers, but also the employers
Yeah.
to feel like you're checking the boxes and being taken care of.
Absolutely.
But we're going to switch a little bit to a innovation question.
Mm,
So, as you're talking to these benefit advisors and, other people in this industry, what are some of the plan design trends or innovative
mm.
ideas that you're hearing a lot about right now?
So I would say that a lot of employers are really thinking about, well, if this is a health advisor or welfare benefits advisor podcast, so I won't dig into retirement too much. But in short, just high level, really figuring out, how do we reach all participants? Because there are very, very, very clear disparities around savings. There are very real and clear disparities around health outcomes and benefits utilization. So employers, what we're seeing and what we're working on is ensuring access for all participants. And what that means more specifically is that when you look at benefits utilization, right, and let's talk about health plans specifically. When you look at health plan utilization, you see that there are the highest cost participants or the highest cost claimants oftentimes aren't using the preventive care and other well-being and preventive, whether it is free or not, but preventive benefits under the plan, right? And when I say free, I mean no additional cost. Let's be clear on
Yeah.
that. They're not using those opportunities, right? I'm going to call them opportunities because that's what they are. Those opportunities that the employer is paying a lot of money for. As a former as a former plan sponsor, I can tell you that the employer is paying a lot of money for. They're not using those things, and it's resulting in many cases in large claims. It's resulting in out of network emergency care. It's resulting in things that are a very high cost to the employers. So I think employers are really now, and what we're pushing for is, how do we make sure that we're reaching everybody, and how do we make sure that we're keeping everyone as well as possible? And so direct contracting has been a thing that a lot of employers have been doing for, I would say, 5 to 10 years now, particularly on the large employer side. They use their leverage to start doing direct contracting, and obviously under self-insured plans. And now we're seeing that trickle down, right? We're seeing that trickle down to your mid-size, to at least your mid-size employers, right? Where they're understanding, oh, wait, there are opportunities for us to lower our costs through contracting directly with hospital systems or contracting directly with certain clinics that have an incentive, right, to keep their participants healthy and well. So that's really what we're seeing. The other thing that we're seeing a lot of and that we're really encouraging is just having good technology apps available to participants. So that means what we know is that a lot of participants do not like calling the call center. They do not like asking for help. They don't like feeling dumb, right? So to be
Yeah.
able to give them tools that they can use to not only get the answers that they need, but to also get the navigation and the help that they need has been something that we've been really pushing as well.
I feel like we can't talk about technology without talking about AI. And
Yeah.
I was going to ask, what are you seeing among benefit advisors, employers, and others in this industry? Like you said earlier, is people don't want to hop on a phone call. They
Mm-hmm.
want to have a different way of doing things. So
Yeah.
I was just curious what you're seeing in all of this.
I'm seeing some hesitance. And what I mean by that is the clients we work with, the employers we talk to, they are in some way hesitant to move very quickly on AI. And I think that's wise. And the reason I say that is because of our fiduciary duties. And the lines can be very unclear. The lines can be a little gray, right?
Yeah.
And the reality is if AI hallucinates, that's on the employer, point blank, period, right?
Yeah.
So making sure that the AI doesn't hallucinate is something that we have advised, and that a lot of employers, their legal departments are saying, wait, this has AI in it. To what extent? Because if you think about it, and we know this now, AI has existed for many years and we've used it in different ways. We just didn't really call it AI. So the AI that we've been using for many years, I think employers are very comfortable with that. If you have a chat or if you have something like that, that is very limited, right? Then great. But this whole integrating with chat GPT,
Yeah.
that kind of just throwing participants out there, they have been very hesitant to do that. And like I said, it's for fiduciary reasons. And it's also a result of just the culture in benefits. I do not think that we have been very progressive or proactive. I think we've been very reactive, and we've been very reactive because we're scared of getting sued. So I think that's an issue as well. There, we could move faster on things, more faster with, with care, right? But we can
Yeah.
move faster on things, and I think that is also part of the fear that employers have around AI. We need to see other employers adopt it first before we
Yeah.
touch this.
No, that's really interesting. It's funny that you say that it's been slow to adopt because I would argue, like you said, in many ways, that's probably a good thing at this point. Whereas the industry has often been criticized for being a little slow to move. This is one time with AI where it's probably to their advantage to kind of be more cautious. I
I agree.
selfishly wish that the rest of the world would slow down a little bit on
Mm,
some of it because as
mhm.
exciting as it is, there are so many potential pitfalls and issues. So
Right.
I really like that take. Well, again, jumping gears a little bit, you were recently on another podcast where you had a really wonderful conversation about the importance of persevering during tough times.
Yeah.
And I would
You
love,
listen to my stuff.
of
You
course I
did your
do.
research. Okay, go
Even
ahead.
if it wasn't for research, Uche, you know I would be listening anyway. No, but as a leader and just somebody in this space, how do you stay resilient and focused amidst all these challenges and chaos that you're dealing with
Mm.
on a day-to-day basis? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
That's a really good question. I think at the end of the day, it's just staying grounded in my values, staying grounded in the reason that we do this. We have an opportunity to reach real people, and we have an opportunity to improve the lives of real people. And we have an opportunity to change the way our industry, functions, the way that we do things. And also staying grounded in my faith. I think that is what has really helped me to be resilient through storms. And even right now, there's so much uncertainty. And I just recall a few months ago, everyone calling me and being like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, should I be like, should I be more worried than I am right now? Like, seriously, should I be more worried than I am right now? And the reality is that if you want to call me resilient, or if you want to call what we do being resilient, I would say that it's staying grounded in our values. It's me staying grounded in my faith that God's got me, right? I'm doing my part, the rest I leave to Him. And then just really understanding that there will be ups and downs.
Hmm.
And if you decide to quit on the down, you never know when the up could be the next day, right?
Yeah.
So it's likely that it's not worth it. So yeah, I think that's what I would say. Oh, the last thing, because I talk way too much. The last thing is that I have been underestimated, I think, my entire career. And each time that I've had someone not talk behind my back, but tell me to my face that I wouldn't be able to do something, that encouraged me to do it, and I would do it. So I know what's possible, and I know what's possible even in the face of adversity. So I think that's the final thing I'll say around your question.
I love that. That's a great answer.
Kind of shifting that question a little bit to, benefit professionals because they're no strangers to change. And, the current environment is no exception to that.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about your mindset when it comes to turning change into opportunity,
Mm.
especially in this benefits industry?
Whew. That is a really good question. Like you said, change is an opportunity, whether we perceive it as good change or bad change. It's an opportunity. And I think right now for benefits professionals and benefits advisors, in a moment that feels a bit uncertain, policy wise, lawsuit wise, all of that, I do think that we can see it as an opportunity to fill gaps that we were either too busy doing other things to fill, or that we just didn't consider important. So to just kind of break that down. So from a benefits advisor, benefits, consulting standpoint, there are opportunities to fill gaps that employers have had for many years on the health and welfare side, right? That's opportunity. That is, if we're breaking it down, it's money, right? It is further building of relationships. It's further demonstrating competency, right? And for us specifically, that's education, that's compliance education, that's compliance consulting, right? Being able to provide that service is an opportunity on our end, right? But for advisors, that's an opportunity to provide those services, that competency to their clients and further solidify those relationships. I think on the employer side, this is an opportunity for them to pick up their heads from just head down, getting things done to saying, wait a minute, if this is now an issue, right, it means that we can't do things the same way. So here's an opportunity to be a bit more strategic, a bit more creative around getting what we want to get done, right? And I think that kind of broadens the thinking around benefits. It kind of reminds us that there are people behind the benefits that we're delivering, right? We're kind of
Yeah.
forced to think about that. So I would say those are very real and very positive opportunities, despite the way it all feels.
Yeah, I love that. It is nice to hear you say that, talk about the people behind this all. And that's kind of, why we're doing this and why we're trying to help these people specifically.
Yeah.
I'm going to shift gears again.
Okay.
This one's kind of just a fun one. It's been kind of popular when we ask it, but you've spent a significant time identifying issues within the healthcare system. If you could enact one policy change at a federal level to address these problems, what would it be and why?
I might get in trouble for this. Like, and then sirens are going off in the background at this moment. So
Uh-oh. They're on to you.
clearly, whoa, that is a good question. Policy wise, conflicts of interest. I would get more serious around that. Conflicts of interest that have created opportunities for particularly insurance companies to continue to vertically integrate and essentially monopolize markets. I would create greater policy around that because I think vertical integration and behavior around conflicts of interest have really created serious blockages for employers in terms of what they're really trying to do for their employees and participants. So if you have no choice around the insurance carrier that you have to use, if there are only two insurance carriers that respond to your RFP, if there are only two administrators that respond to your RFP, your hands are tied. Your hands are tied, right? So I'm speaking from the employer perspective because that's who, we work with from a consulting perspective. Your hands are tied. And so I would say that, and we're seeing a little bit of it, we're seeing a little bit of action around addressing the monopolization, of health insurance and healthcare. But I would push for greater regulation around that. And on the employer side, right, we have our fiduciary duties. There are exceptions, right, to prohibited transactions, to conflicts of interest, right? There are exceptions. There are different things that you can do. There's different reporting that you can provide, right, or disclosures. However, I would beef that up a bit more, not the exceptions. I would beef up the prohibited transactions because I think if those were a bit stronger, we would again see more pushback on the insurance companies, the PBMs, and the other vendors that are not always acting in the best interest of their clients, of participants, and are rather focused on the best interest of their shareholders. I say all of that with love.
No, I was going to say, I mean, you may get in trouble in some parts of the industry, but I will say, if I may speak for most of our audience, I think that there's a lot of people that are standing up and clapping because I think those are very popular opinions among many of the benefits advisors and partners that we talk to and work
Mm,
with every day. So no, I think that's a great answer. And like I said, I think it is a key to what a lot of the people, a lot of our readers and listeners are trying to do. So no, I think
yeah.
that was a good one. Okay, well, we're coming up on the end here, but we've talked a little bit about how the industry has long been known for being kind of status quo, reluctant to change. I personally feel like that is starting to shift, and we're starting to see some more momentum and some more openness to innovation and diversity and things like that. Can you talk about how the industry can keep this momentum going and continue to improve when it comes to bringing in younger and more diverse candidates, and just continuing to be open to change?
Yeah. I think that it really sits on leadership from the employer perspective. The leadership in HR, the leadership in benefits and total rewards, they have to modernize. I'm not saying modernize in terms of, okay, the leadership needs to all be Gen Z now. No. What I'm saying is that they need to decide, right, that they are not going to be as risk averse as they have been and really listen to other opinions and try new things. And I think once employers start doing that, because they're the ones with the purse, like, bam, at the end of the day, they're the ones with the purse. And if you ask me, they should be using that purse a little more in a way that pushes the industry a little bit more, which is the point I'm making right now, is
Mm-hmm.
if that leadership would start using their money to force vendors, to force consultants to really start thinking more creatively, that would move our industry so quickly, right? Because money talks, point blank, period. Whether you're capitalist, socialist, whatever you want to call yourself, we all know money talks, right? So the people with the purse, they need to start talking not only about innovation, let's be more creative about the solutions that you're bringing to us, but also just thinking about what is best for our industry, what is best for our participants, what's best for our society. Hey, vendor, hey, carrier, stop doing that. Okay? Like, we're going to put this in our administrative procedures. We're going to put this here. We're going to put this in our agreement. Stop doing that thing that you've been doing that is bad, right?
Right.
So if you ask me, if we want to see more innovation, if we want to see more creativity, if we want to get beyond this stagnation and get beyond the status quo, it's going to take the leadership at companies, at employers to say, no, if we're giving you money, bring us something innovative. If we're giving you money, bring us something that really does the job that we're looking for it to do. And we're also going to be open to trying new things, new technologies, etc. We'll be cautious, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
but we're going to be open to trying something new, especially when what we've been doing hasn't been working. So
Right.
that's what I would say.
Good one.
Yeah, I agree. It is nice to hear just talking about the innovation of this all. And especially I see, that discourse on LinkedIn as well between everyone. So it's nice to hear that reiterated as well. Well, we're going to move on. This is our last question of the main interview. And then we get into, a kind of fun get to know you more interview.
Okay.
So finish this sentence. The thing that makes me most excited about the future of our industry is.
Millennials and Gen Z moving into leadership.
I like it. Nice and short. Do you want to elaborate at all or leave it nice and short?
No, I'll elaborate because I might get in trouble for saying. And to be clear, I'm an old millennial. I'm on the old side of the millennial. I think there's been so much change in recent years. The millennial and Gen Z populations are more diverse than we've ever seen. And I think that new thinking that is more proactive and less reactive, that more diverse thought, I think will really make a difference here. And when I say diverse thought, I mean also seeing women, because in recent years, when we look at certain generations who has been in leadership, they've been men and usually white men. So just seeing more diverse generationally, gender wise, racially, LGBTQ plus, all of those differences that we have been more willing to embrace in recent years. I would love for them to be in more leadership positions. And I think we'll see some really interesting shifts in innovation.
I love that. I couldn't agree more. And I'll just say, as somebody who's been covering the insurance industry now for years, I do completely agree with you that that it's important, but also that I do think it is starting to happen, which is, the last few years is probably the first time that I could say that I really do feel like I'm starting to see that, whether it's,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm up on stage at our expo looking out at the crowd and just seeing a wider range of people from various perspectives of, like you
Yeah.
said, more women, more diversity, younger people, and to see some of those people that a few years ago were just barely dipping their toes into the industry,
Yeah.
starting to move up and move closer to those leadership
Yeah.
positions. I completely agree with you. I think it's so fun to watch, and I'm really excited to see where it all heads next. Okay, well, just a
Absolutely.
couple quick questions to close out, and we're just going to
Okay.
have some fun ones for you. So, as we touched on earlier, this industry can be pretty tough on people. As fun and exciting as it can be, it's also a grind sometimes,
Yeah.
especially for those of you who are trying to create change. How do you relax and refresh in your free time?
Ooh. So I'm a nerd, or you can call it dork, either one.
Ah,
I love PBS, so the Public Broadcasting Corporation. So it's public television in short. I love PBS. I That is all I watch. We have three major PBS stations in Chicago, and I
oh
watch all
yeah.
three. So I'm between those three channels, period. So I watch PBS, and I watch PBS because I really love Masterpiece Theater and all of the British dramas and murder mysteries. And I also love documentaries. I love watching Nature and Nova, all of those documentaries. And then finally, I'm a history buff. So I studied history in college, actually. So I love not only historical dramas, but historical documentaries. Yeah, so that's what I do. That's what I do to just kind of relax. It is, and I've had people make fun of me for that, but
Oh,
it is what I do.
I'm the opposite. As you were talking, I already knew you were my people, but as you said that, I'm just like, oh, I knew that Uche and I was raised, watching Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street. I watched Nature and Nova constantly. So no, your answer made me very happy. And if you're a nerd or a dork or whatever, I guess I'm right there with you. I love it.
I was going to say you are talking to two English majors, and I was also a history minor, so I get it.
Okay. Yes.
Earlier, you were saying that you travel a lot for work, but I'm
Hmm.
assuming also hopefully for fun.
Yeah. Let me not lie. No. Oh my God, let me not lie. The two major reasons I travel, one is work. The other reason is because I am working on my own personal life. I travel to watch the kids of my siblings. So when they're
Love it.
going on vacation or when they're doing something. So I enjoy spending time with my nieces and nephews. So maybe that's considered fun, but it's oftentimes a responsibility. So it might not be completely fun. But I am trying to incorporate more fun travel. So that means when I do travel for work or I do travel for family, I try to find opportunities to do something cool or nice in the city that I'm in. So yeah,
Well, do you have any, fun plans to do that soon this summer?
I'm going to Hawaii. So
Oh, yeah.
that is going to be an opportunity for me to just really kind of rest and relax. It is a trip with family, and I've already been clear that I'm not watching kids, that this is going to be a vacation for me. So, yes, that trip is coming up. So, we'll be in Oahu. So, I'm very much looking forward to that.
Oh, I love that. And I will just say, you mentioned that you spend some time in Europe and the UK. As
Yes.
somebody who's never been there and is like we said, a history and English nerd,
Uh-huh.
I hope that you get a chance to sneak away every once in a while from the work and spend a little bit of time
I
exploring some
try to.
museums or something. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I try to.
Do it for
Because
me. Do it for me.
absolutely, and I recognize that it is a privilege, whether I'm working or not. It is a privilege, and in recent years, I've said to myself, really take the time to pop into a museum or something like that because it absolutely is a privilege, and I'm grateful to be able to do it.
Love
Hmm.
that. Love that. Okay, well, other than PBS, you can take your pick, either a movie, a show, a book, a podcast. What's one recommendation that you would make?
Oh, I have so many. So here's what I'll say. There's a book. It's called The Ethical Imperative. It's written by Andrew Cooper. I am an example that he uses in the book, which is a huge honor. But the reason I'm mentioning the book is because he knows what he's talking about. Former general counsel for UPS Airlines, spent time in Big Law, spent time at Meta, etc. And so his book really focuses on returning to ethical leadership, right? I think a lot has happened in the world, and particularly in the US, and capitalism is real whether we like it or not, where we've kind of stepped away. We've responded to markets instead of responding to people. And we can do both, right? We can do both. And that's what the book talks about. So I would say if you are looking for a good read that regrounds you in ethical leadership, that is the book to pick up. And the last thing I'll say about it is there's something very comforting about it. And the reason I say there's something comforting about it is because it really feels like the world is pushing us to be very reactive to changes in the market, like I said, to all different types of changes happening externally. And there's something very comforting about reading something that says, hey, you can remain in your values. You don't have to, compromise your values. You can remain here, right? Despite the
Yeah.
world spinning. So that's the book I would recommend.
Oh, that sounds great. I'm adding it to my list now. Thank
Oh,
you.
please do.
I was going to say, I'm adding it I'm like typing it right now into my phone. Well, this will be our last question, but we were talking about before we were recording that you're in Chicago. Paul and I love Chicago. My aunt lives there. A couple of Paul's best
Mm-hmm.
friends live there, and his wife will house it there
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. And so, what is, either a restaurant or a place, like any recommendation you have in Chicago?
Oof, there are too many. Chicago is like a
I
foodie
know, right?
city. Oh
We'll
my
take more than
goodness.
one.
It'll take more than one.
Yeah,
Let's see. So first I would say West Loop. They're like every restaurant in the West Loop is an experience, a wonderful experience. Okay. Yeah,
agreed.
agreed. Yes. So there's that. I can't even name them all. They're just so good. Less well-known place that I discovered a while ago because I went to some event and they catered for them is Yassa, Yassa. They are a West African restaurant, Senegalese to be exact. And it's so, so good and it's so, so affordable. And they became somewhat popular a few years ago. So like DoorDash and Uber Eats, they will now deliver from like an hour away. Because I literally used to go downtown so that I could order delivery because they're way on the south side. So I would go downtown so it'd be close enough. But it just became such a hit that now I live on the north side. Now they will drive 45 minutes to deliver this food to you.
I love
So
that.
that is one that easily comes to mind because it's just so good. Yeah, so anything in the West Loop is just gonna be good. And then Yasa is a really, really great restaurant I discovered.
Oh, sounds amazing. Well, Uche, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and we hope to have you back on again someday. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you.
For all of our listeners, please subscribe to Beyond Benefits with Benefits Pro anywhere you get your podcasts. And if you want to rate us, we'd love your feedback. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email me over at pwilson@benefitspro.com, or you can email Lily at lpeterson@alm.com.
And thank you to our producer, Zach. Join us again next time for a new episode of Beyond Benefits with Benefits Pro. Until then, thanks for listening.